Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Get Smarter webinar series hosted by Smart Communications. My name's Paula Barker, and I'm a Global Marketing Manager here at Smart Communications. Our session today is titled Maximizing Your CCM with SaaS and AWS Pure Cloud Upgrade Strategies. Before we get started, I'm going to review just a couple of small housekeeping items, and then I'll turn it over to our subject matter experts to kick off the session. The webinar is being recorded today, and a recording of the session will be available within 1 to 2 business days. All of the attendee lines are muted. However, you may ask a question at any time during the presentation by simply typing it into the Q&A box. We'll do our best to answer your question, but if for some reason we are unable to get to it, we will follow up with you directly one-on-one via email in 1 to 2 business days. If you have trouble seeing the slides at any time during the presentation, simply press F5 to refresh your screen on a PC or Command R if you're using a Mac. I'll now turn it over to Chris Murphy, Vice President of Product Marketing at Smart Communications, to start the session. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Paula. Welcome, everyone. As Paula mentioned, my name is Chris Murphy. I am part of our product marketing team here at Smart Communications, so working very closely with our global customer base, as well as a number of our internal teams, including our fantastic professional services team. And really the focus I have is to drive the value of SmartCOMM as a solution inside your business. I've been with the company around 6 years, currently based in Atlanta, but grew up in London, hence the strange accent. I'll hand off to Aftab to allow him to introduce himself.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Aftab Barimol, and I lead the professional services team for North America. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. I've spent many years as a senior consultant, so I bring a very deep understanding of the SmartCOMM product. I'm actually very excited to be here and looking forward to sharing some valuable insights.
Perfect. Thanks, Aftab. I know that many of you on the call have worked with our professional services team in the past, and hopefully you have also worked with Aftab, who provides excellent SmartCOMM knowledge, and his team do a great job. So by way of a quick agenda and to keep us on track, what we'll be covering today, we'll talk a little bit about how we deploy our SmartCOMM solution, some of the differences in the way that we make these offerings available. If you're on this call, the chances are you are probably utilizing SmartCOMM in a hybrid fashion. We'll talk about some of the differences in the way that we deploy the solution, as well as kind of like what's available on Pure Cloud. We'll talk a little bit about some of the additional features that are available in the Pure Cloud deployment option. As much as possible, we try to make any enhancement that comes out of our R&D organization available on all deployments, but there are some caveats to that, and I'll explain what those caveats are and why they are so. We'll talk about a little bit about the optimal process. We've worked with a number of customers that have gone from a hybrid model to a Pure Cloud model. Aftab will dive deeper into some of the insights that we've gained from our experience there, and to be able to provide you with an overview of that process. And then we'll touch on your questions, and we'll also offer a quick example of a customer that has made the move, why they made the decision, and the benefits that they're receiving from it. If there's one thing I want you to walk away from the session today, it's to feel more educated about the options available to you and your organization. Ultimately, any move from a hybrid deployment to a Pure Cloud deployment involves a little bit more. It's going to involve resources, it's going to involve planning. So as much as possible, we want you to have all the information available to you in order to make the right decision for you and your organization. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Aftab, who's going to talk a little bit more about our deployment options, availability, and the benefits.
So over the years, we've introduced a number of deployment options, right? And that's really to satisfy different use cases that customers have. The three primary deployment options are on-premise, hybrid, and pure cloud. With on-premise, it gives you a lot of control, but requires significant upfront investment and a continuous ongoing maintenance. With hybrid, it does offer a balance, right? It combines both on-premise and cloud, but sometimes can get very complex to manage. Finally, pure cloud. We've been a cloud pioneer for a number of years now. Pure cloud offers really good scalability, cost efficiency, and also security options. But ultimately, the best choice depends on your specific use case and your specific need. So let's dive into the world of deployments, right? Specifically comparing hybrid cloud appliance to pure cloud AWS solution, right? So we'll explore some of the key differences and why I think, in my opinion, pure cloud is often a superior choice for modern enterprises. Let's first take a quick look at the hybrid cloud appliance. They do come with hardware headaches, right? You're responsible for procurement, for deploying and maintaining those physical hardware, and that can be significant cost, right? And also leads to sort of ongoing operational burden that you have. There is somewhat of a limited scalability. Scaling is oftentimes challenging and oftentimes also time consuming, right? And that really hinders your ability to respond to, say, sudden spikes in demand, be it open enrollment or year-end invoicing stuff. So there's also a lot of manual labor. So think of all of the manual deployments, upgrades, and patch cycles that you're responsible for, and they are time consuming, and oftentimes they are error prone as well, and this leads to system downtime. Lastly, disaster recovery is somewhat complex. Configuring and maintaining failover mechanisms for hybrid cloud appliance can be complex. And with that complexity comes cost as well. Now let's talk about pure cloud AWS. I do believe that it is the future for deployment, right? You basically don't have any hardware hassle, right? With pure cloud, you eliminate the need for physical hardware. AWS handles all of the infrastructures and really allows you to focus on your business. With AWS, you also get infinite scalability. So it allows you to scale up effortlessly or even scale down to meet any fluctuations in demand. You also automate everything, right? Deployments are automatic, upgrades, patch cycles, all of that is done automatically. And this significantly reduces the operational overhead that you would have. Finally, when it comes to disaster recovery, AWS offers built-in disaster recovery features, which could be, multi-availability zones and automated failovers. So just to conclude, I do believe, by choosing pure cloud, you can really simplify your IT operations. You can reduce costs, and the best part is it improves your ability to scale up or down. Just want to quickly summarize the main benefits. Most of it I touched upon already, but just a quick summary, right? You have the power of elastic scalability that changes based on demand. You eliminate all of the hardware and software maintenance, and you reduce any associated risks and costs. And that really allows you to focus on your business. You get to leverage the high availability features and pure cloud deployment strategies, and minimize downtime, right? You can rapidly develop, test, and deploy projects, programs, applications, and really helps you go to market very quickly. You also get to benefit from capabilities that are exclusive to AWS Pure Cloud. Uh, for example, conversation history that's only available on AWS tenancies. And Chris will be speaking more about these features in a little bit here. There's also dynamic versioning, which works beautifully, right? You get to choose which version of SmartCOMM engine you want to run your job against, right? Which reduces a lot of risk, which reduces a lot of regression testing that's needed. And this allows you to test any new features that you may see today, on your schedule and when you want to test, and without any of the associated risks. I think the biggest benefit with AWS Pure Cloud is that you get to tap into the array of services and offerings that come in because you're part of the AWS ecosystem. I want to show a visual that shows the architecture diagram and differences between a typical hybrid colo on your left and a pure cloud AWS on your right. The key differences really are in the fact that you're using some sort of a local storage like CFS or NFS that sits behind the firewall. Well, on the pure cloud AWS architecture, right, you see that you're using cloud storage such as AWS S3 or Azure Blobs or GCP. All the endpoint distribution, including printing and ECM, are all still inside the firewall in both architectures. So are the template designers and data modelers. While AWS Pure Cloud, offers a very compelling reason for, some customers seeking a more flexible and scalable cloud-based architecture, you should consider, your specific needs and your specific factors while making a decision. Next, Chris will cover new features that I alluded to earlier.
I forgot to take myself off mute. Perfect. Thank you, Aftab. I appreciate the quick overview. So as Aftab mentioned, there are capabilities that are just available on our Pure Cloud model. And I want to just take a moment to say that this is not, as an R&D organization, we support all deployment models. But there are specific reasons why some capabilities are only available on Pure Cloud. Part of that is that as Aftab alluded to, we are able to take advantage of some of the native capabilities that AWS offers and incorporate that into our service offerings. So instances in which that is the case, we are then not able to similarly apply that same technology to our hybrid deployment model. In general, we do have a cadence. If we do have a solution that is going to be available on all deployment models, it will probably end up going on our Pure Cloud deployment model first, and then making its way to the hybrid deployment model after that. So with regards to the speed at which we're able to get innovations, oftentimes it is available in Pure Cloud first. I'm just going to touch on a couple of these capabilities. I mentioned that we are able to take advantage of some of the native AWS functionality. A great example is the content similarities that we have available in our Pure Cloud solution. That is actually using native AWS technology. It looks at shared content across the CMS and provides you with a similarity score to help organizations begin to think about how they want to rationalize that content. If you have similar fragments of text, or even completely duplicated fragments of text, you can begin to rationalize those, promote them to be a piece of shared content, and then when you do have to manage them moving forward, it becomes a lot simpler for you to be able to do that. A couple of other examples that I will touch on. Authentication is one of the areas that we've spent a lot of time working on, specific to not just our Pure Cloud option for SmartCOMM, but also the other products in our product portfolio as well, SmartIQ. So what's happening here is that you actually have the ability to have an experience where you can log in one time using your preferred IDP, and then you have access to all of your tenancies from a single location. So right now, probably a lot of you are probably doing is kind of like you've got different sign-on, different tabs. You have to log out of one environment and then log into another one to be able to switch between maybe UAT and pre-prod and production. That kind of goes away with the authentication module that's part of the Pure Cloud option. You have the experience to be able to see all of your tenancies, log in once and have access to those. Similarly, if you are an organization that is also utilizing SmartIQ, you can actually natively, through a single sign-on, get access to SmartIQ as well. So it's really kind of simplifying your authentication process across tenancies and across products. So this is one of the advantages that we have as part of that Pure Cloud deployment option. Another example is how we are helping to facilitate companies moving from legacy CCM solution or homegrown communication applications onto SmartCOMM. We call this kind of like, migration or kind of transformation to get those projects into SmartCOMM as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We've got a kind of a suite of capabilities, some of which are really only available as part of that Pure Cloud deployment. So Migration Studio is one of those. It's actually a productized solution to allow you to take final format PDFs and bring those into SmartCOMM. Like as part of that process, we'll actually automatically create the process. We'll extract a lot of the content from that PDF. You have the ability to apply save styles and layouts as well. So really expediting how easy it is to get templates and content and final communications from legacy systems into SmartCOMM. We do have other capabilities available to customers that are moving from a legacy solution to SmartCOMM. Now, I spoke about Migration Studio. That is productized, that is available for you to use, but we also have offerings that our professional services team can leverage that are more specific to certain formats that other solutions have. So it's not kind of final format PDF, it's actually a lot more of the raw template formats that house the content, the workflow, or the rules, the embedded rules in the structure of that communication as well. So if you are an organization that is running kind of lots of different communication applications, there is a suite of tools that we have available to help you facilitate that migration over onto SmartCOMM. And then two other advantages with regards to features that are available on our Pure Cloud deployment. So you've heard every software vendor in the world talk about GenAI over the last 12 months. We are no exception. This is an area that we see a lot of potential application for our customers to begin to leverage. We've had a number of sessions with our customers to understand the parameters with which they're working under, the governance models that they are employing. Where we feel we have the best place to offer GenAI capabilities right now is actually in the template authoring process. So in template editor, we have added an early adopter feature that is just available in that Pure Cloud deployment model. It's a GenAI writing assistant. It plugs into your enterprise chat GPT license right now. But what it does offer, I'm going to run a quick video of it in action. And what it does offer is a number of pre-built prompts that will allow you to kind of really augment that content creation process inside a template editor. So if you have requirements around translating fragments into different languages, it can help you with that. We we offer support for 6 different languages right now. If you need to work on the readability of specific fragments within a template, a lot of legislation in the US right now is kind of like simplifying the language that's used in these communications. So it can help you to either improve the readability of those fragments, as well as kind of working with aligning to different tones as well. If you want to make a specific set of fragments more formalized, you have the ability to do that as well. So again, this is available in early adopter as part of our early adopter program on our Pure Cloud deployment model. But that GenAI writing assistant is available as early adopter status at the moment. Where we hope to go in the future, which again will be probably largely restricted to our Pure Cloud deployment options, is really to provide a little bit more flexibility around how you want to utilize GenAI. We've got customers that are investing in building out their own LLMs. We want to have the ability to support that, but we also know that that type of investment is not available to all of our customers. So we want to be able to provide an integration layer that will allow organizations to tap into industry-specific and vertically specific LLMs. And we're going to be doing that through Amazon Bedrock, which gives access to hundreds of different LLM solutions, and to be able to provide our customers the ability to influence the returns of that content into SmartCOMM. So, for example, you will have the ability to influence the tone. It can, through this RAG retrieval method, each customer has the ability to kind of like hone that content specific to how they speak to their customers, proprietary terminology that you use. That is going to be an approach, an architectural approach that we will be working on in 2025, and you'll hear more about that as we get closer to releasing that as part of our Pure Cloud option. And the final feature I want to highlight that is potentially just slightly different between the hybrid and Pure Cloud option is our investment in a SIEM feed, a SIEM integration feed. So many organizations, you probably have some kind of security information and event management, a SIEM tool that your InfoSec team or your governance team is running. And really the benefit of that is to really have a good understanding of what's happening across your cloud technologies, your cloud software solutions. And so one of the things that we will be adding is an event feed from both SmartCOMM and SmartIQ of significant events that are happening within the tool. So it could be kind of new users being created, batch jobs have been triggered, permissions have been changed. You have the ability to now consume all of these via an event feed and then set the appropriate thresholds that you need to in order to determine whether or not you think there is a bad actor at play or there is something happening outside of your business as usual processes. As Aftab mentioned, the way that that's integrated, we would actually provide those that feed of events to a cloud storage device or a cloud storage location that you will manage. It could be an S3 bucket, it could be a Google blob or an Azure blob as well. So there's a lot of flexibility with regards to where we can actually place those event feeds. So in general, that's just a quick overview of some of those features that are available as part of our Pure Cloud solution that are not available for our hybrid customers. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Aftab to talk a little bit more about the process of moving from hybrid to Pure Cloud.
Thank you, Chris. Let's do a quick walkthrough of the streamlined process that we've developed for our clients, and I might even say even perfected it. So step one really begins with preparation, right? We work closely with our clients and gain access to your existing tenancies, and also set up new AWS tenancies and get in there as well. Next, our very experienced professional services team spends a lot of time analyzing the existing tenancy We'll evaluate the data flow as well as any post-processing requirements. And we design a very tailored upgrade strategy. We then start configuring settings, right? We establish security that includes SSO if you use one, and any resource level restrictions that may be needed at the CMS level, right? Typically, these are based on LOBs, line of businesses, or departments. Our team then migrates resources from the existing tenancy to the new AWS tenancy. We have developed some in-house utilities that help with migrations, especially if you have a large CMS. Basically, our goal is to be efficient, be quick, and make sure there are no issues or errors during this migration. We then update necessary integrations, right? This will include any of the web service endpoints, draft editor URLs if you are using the interactive use case, and we make sure you're pointing to the new cloud AWS environment. We also help configure, any of the storage buckets, be it S3 or Azure blobs, and then update Lambda functions, right? In the hybrid tenancy, hybrid environment, if you've been using any post-processing script, and if you're now on using S3 buckets, we would just convert them and create Lambda functions. And then if there are any OP plugins that you have, we'll make sure they're updated to be compatible with the new AWS Pure Cloud environment. And finally, we'll update and modify all of the data flows and make sure your end-to-end piping is working as expected. And finally, to ensure quality, and we definitely don't want to have any regressions. We have a plan to support a very in-depth regression testing. Our professional services team is dedicated to minimizing disruptions, right, as you transition from a hybrid architecture to pure cloud. So you do have a committed and dedicated team assisting you with this transition. So let's review what a typical implementation plan looks like for AWS upgrade, right? For making it efficient, we've separated out all the steps into two different streams. And these streams are really set up because you now have the option to work on things in parallel if you wanted to. If you really want to get the migration done quickly, we do have the option to do some of these steps in parallel. What you see on the screen are all of the various steps we saw on the previous slide, but this just has a little more information with the resources and SMEs that are needed for each of the steps, also along with the duration. So stream one is all design, configuration, and migration. The typical effort is 10 to 12 days to get it completed. A couple of things that factor in are SSO, which sometimes could take a couple of days, given that oftentimes you have to work with your security teams. Stream two is all integration and testing. The typical effort is anywhere from 12 to 15 days, but of course it depends on your use case and whether or not you have one or more post-processing scripts and/or OP plugins. It also depends, how many test cases you have are being planned to be run and executed. I've really seen a lot of success using this type of a structured implementation plan, and we've been doing this very often, especially in the last couple of years. That I'll hand it back to Chris.
Perfect. Thanks, Aftab. So we've covered a little bit around the process, if that was something that your organization was looking to consider, moving from hybrid to pure cloud. And just really a quick example of a customer that has gone through that process. A lot of what they were a fairly large customer. They were running close to 70 appliances and upwards of 75 to 80 job processors. When they were looking to make the move from hybrid to pure cloud, they did run a fairly deliberate cost benefit analysis, and this was a strong part of their decision making process. And they immediately saw some of the gains that they would benefit from with the elimination of the hardware and the maintenance costs associated with managing kind of that amount of appliances. Biggest takeaways that they saw, obviously gains across the business in terms of being able to scale without the need to add kind of hardware and servers to facilitate that scale. They've also been able to better manage a lot of how they work with their other business units. Before, they had to stagger a lot of the requests that were coming in. They now have kind of like eliminated the need to throttle and manage those requests. They're able to run a lot of those jobs for all of the business units that they're supporting overnight as well. So some good immediate benefits that they were able to realize as a part of that move. And really kind of like, that move to a pure cloud model is really just utilizing SmartCOMM much more as a true service rather than in a kind of like hybrid fashion. So with that, we are going to move on to questions. So if you have had a question that you've been itching to raise your hand and ask, now's the time to pop it into the chat. I did see a couple come through as we were talking. But Paula, maybe I can hand over to you and you can kind of manage which ones we get to and which ones we're going to follow up with.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Chris. We do have a few questions. So let's start out with this first one. You've outlined a little about the process to move. How long is reasonable to expect that the move would take? And does it typically result in any downtime or interruption to our existing processes? Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thanks, Paula. So yeah, good question. Like I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of these upgrades, and in my experience, it typically takes about 30 to 45 days for the migration. However, the exact timeline, right, can vary based on factors like the complexity of the environments that you have, and more importantly, how many, if there is any customizations being done that needs to be ported over. The downtime is very minimal, right, if any, because really the switchover happens on the source systems or the calling applications, and that can be isolated to be minimal.
Great. All right, we've got another one. One of the biggest blockers for moving to Pure Cloud in our organization has been how customer data is processed. If we're interested but need to get someone from your side to talk through this with our InfoSec teams, is this possible? I think, yeah, Chris, are you going to handle that?
Yeah, I can grab that one. Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously something that's an important consideration for lots of organizations, whether or not you chose to go hybrid in the first place. But a lot of you on the call were probably, you've been customers of ours for quite some time, right? You moved to hybrid even before we had that pure cloud option available. So it is something that we are very practiced with. We have a kind of like a very strong set of resources that we can make available to you to learn kind of like about some of the differences between the deployment models, but we are absolutely also happy to have those conversations directly with your InfoSec team to ensure that they have a strong understanding about how data is stored, captured, processed by us. So yes, that's a long-winded answer of an absolutely yes.
All right, great. Okay, we have time for two more. The next one is, what challenges sometimes arise during this process?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I can think of two. The most common issues we run into are our SSO configuration, right? It depends on your IDP. And the second one is, having SMEs or resources with knowledge of cloud storage containers, right, to provide the right level of access and security and set them up. Having said that, we haven't faced any major issue that we haven't been able to solve, and that's really where I strongly believe that our structured implementation plan goes a long way in making sure we can hit those milestone dates.
Great, thank you. All right, our last question is, outside of a professional services engagement, if we decided to go that route, is there other paperwork that is involved?
Yes, there's minimal paperwork involved, but there are some differences in as you move from a hybrid option to a pure cloud option. There are definitely differences, and a lot of that will probably need to be captured somehow in like either a terms of use or a contractual process. So there are more responsibilities that we hold as part of the pure cloud option, and we just want to ensure that everybody is aware of what those responsibilities are. So there is paperwork, but as Aftab has mentioned, we are very practiced in this, but it will probably involve some slight repapering of your contract as you move over. But a lot of the same tenants, a lot of the same kind of structures are in place. So it would not be an arduous process by any means.
Great, thank you.
Right.
That is the last question that we have. I think, are we ready to close out the session then, Chris?
I think so, unless there's any more kind of last minute questions that need to come in.
Nope, nothing else.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Aftab. I want to thank you for joining us today in this Get Smarter series and sharing your thoughts and guidance on this topic. I also want to thank our audience for spending time with us today. We know you have a busy schedule. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you again, and please enjoy the rest of your day.